So while I'm not comfortable going to the movie theater, I will go to the drive-in. And the drive-in near me, relatively near, it's 15 miles away, for $10, you get to see a double feature. And I would very much like to see Spider-Man No Way Home. Unfortunately, since its release 10 weeks ago, it's been double featuring with itself. And I'm not paying $10 to see Spider-Man twice in a row. I demand it be paired with another movie, even one I'm not even particularly interested in seeing. Well, this week, its 10th week in the theater, it's finally double featuring with something else. In this case, Uncharted. So Tom Holland double feature. Fun. So I'm going to go see Spider-Man next week, sometime in the middle of the week, so there's less crowds, and I can park in a perfect spot and have nowhere near me. It's great. I realized that I have not seen the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and judging by the marketing for this film, it includes all the villains from the previous Spider-Man movies, even the Amazing Spider-Man and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. So it would not at all surprise me if since the villains are showing up, that the other Spider-Men are going to show up. Well, if that's the case, it's not going to mean much if Andrew Garfield shows up when I haven't seen any of the Amazing Spider-Man movies. So I thought I'd watch The Amazing Spider-Man, followed by The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I thought, hey, talking about the superhero movies that I haven't seen would make for a good video series. So I wrote down all of the various superhero movies that I could think of from the last 20 years, mostly DC and Marvel stuff, that I haven't seen, and thought, I'll see if I can get around to watching them, and you'll apologize, I keep glancing over there because Audacity's been crashing on me, and I'm just making sure that it doesn't. So I thought I'd make a great video series, but so I have my list. It's got about 24 titles on it. And I looked over this list, and I realized there's a reason I haven't seen most of these films. It wasn't a matter of I just never got around to it. It's because they look really bad. I didn't see The Amazing Spider-Man or The Amazing Spider-Man 2 on purpose. Because they look bad. The same reason I didn't bother seeing Green Lantern or Catwoman or most of the X-Men films. So maybe this isn't a great idea because, oh man, the Fantastic Four movies, the Ghost Rider movies, they look bad. I probably skipped all of them for a very good reason, but you never know when you'll find the so-called diamond in the rough. So, Amazing Spider-Man. Now, truth be told, I actually was in front of this movie at one time, but I was high on morphine, so I fell asleep. So I don't think it counts. I was at the doctor's getting some procedure or another done, and I was loopy on pain meds. And they're like, hey, you want to watch a movie? And I'm like, oh, Amazing Spider-Man. I haven't seen that. And I immediately fell asleep. But I do remember one part, maybe I dreamed it. My memory tells me there's a part of the movie where Spider-Man is shot in the leg, which means he can't use his arms to thwip. So a bunch of crane operators move a bunch of cranes so that he can ignore the bullet in his leg and thwip to go fight the lizard. That's probably not what happens, because that's insanely stupid. I probably just made that up in my drug-induced loopiness. But we'll see. So, The Amazing Spider-Man, which I have to rent on Vudu for $3 because it's not streaming anywhere. Oh well. I may have been high on morphine, but I did see the scene I thought I saw. There is indeed a scene towards the end of the movie where Spider-Man gets shot in the leg, which prevents him from web swinging with his arms. It's pretty much how I described it. I get what they're going for, but it doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. It's like, I mean, I'm actually okay. I mean, the setup is absurd. Number one, at no point in the movie does it establish that Spider-Man can't swing off the sides of buildings. In fact, it shows that he totally can. He doesn't need overhangs to swing on. He can do the double swingy thing. He can just, kind of... I don't know... And I don't know what... I'm sure his leg really hurts. But he, webs his leg and swings off of cranes, and then his leg really doesn't bother him for the rest of the movie. It's kind of funny that there just happens to be these gigantic cranes on the top of every single building for, down the same street for 2 miles. It's a comic book. It's fine. I don't care. But it's like, okay, he's got cranes to swing off of, woot. But you know what all these cranes are sitting on top of? Big damn buildings. I guess when your leg really hurts, it's hard to do the swinging off the side of the buildings thing, and you need to do overhangs. I mean, not the biggest problem with the movie, but it's the one thing I remembered about the movie in my morphine stupor, so thought I'd bring that up first. Now, I figured this movie would be bad because it looked bad, and I heard it was bad. But after about 40 minutes, I was like, you know what? This movie is, while it is definitely doing different things with the story of Peter Parker / Spider-Man, that in itself isn't a bad thing. Doing something new, taking the characters in a new direction, changing up the order in which things happen. As a big comic book dork, I don't have a problem with that. Go ahead and do something new with the property. Just do it good, yo. Now, I was thinking, you know what? I think maybe this movie might be unfairly maligned. I wouldn't say it's great. I wouldn't say it's even good. But, 40-some minutes into the film, I was thinking, you know what? This movie's okay. It's not good, but it's okay. This movie is really, really bad. Because, I watched the other hour and a half or so of it, and yeah, pretty much once he becomes Spider-Man and does a suit, that's where the movie just starts sucking. This movie is really, really bad. No fault of the performers. The performers are fine. I think our leads are all great. I think they're doing their jobs admirably, but the movie still sucks. Again, not the fault of any of the performing cast. It's just a really bad movie. It feels like one of those movies that was hacked to pieces by the studio, because there is a lot of stuff that comes up in this movie that's just dropped. Like plot points that are set up like they're going to be a big damn deal and just ignored. Characters that just drop out of the movie. Like Kurt Connors, the Lizard. He works for Oscorp, and he's trying to make a regenerative solution to grow back his missing limb, but also to save Norman Osborn, who is apparently dying. We never meet or see Norman Osborn. He's referred to by an intermediary, by an actor who, if you saw him, you would know him, because I do, and we all know the same stuff. I forget what his name is. I don't think I've ever heard it pronounced. And, yeah, here, this guy. He just drops out of the movie at one point. Never to be seen again. I mean, he's set up like he's going to be the big bad, and did he die? I don't think he died. I think he was being menaced on the bridge, and then Spider-Man showed up, and then he's just out of the movie. Never comes back. It's weird. The lizard is trying to turn everyone into lizards. I guess being a lizard makes you want to be a lizard, okay? And he actually makes a bunch of police officers who attack him lizards. Nothing comes of that. I mean, they get saved by the end of the movie, but you'd think there'd be something like, oh god, rampaging cop lizards! That could be hilarious. Nope. Nope, he just, like, sprays them in the face with lizard gas, and they go, turning into a lizard, and you never see them again until the very end of the movie where they disperse the antidote, and they're like, oh good, not lizard anymore. It's like, is that it? I would be surprised if there are not scenes on a cutting room floor somewhere of an army of cop lizards rampaging. It just seems like a weird thing to set up and do nothing with. So Peter Parker's parents, we don't care about the mother at all. No one ever refers to Lily Parker? I guess she just was not very important. Maybe she was just a big old drag who was just a miserable sod who nobody liked. Because Peter's never whining about his missing parents or his missing mom and dad. It's always his father. No one ever seems to care about mom too much. Kind of weird, but okay. So there's this whole subplot about, oh no, the Illuminati, the Gestapo, the Mafia, someone, the Yakuza, somebody is coming after us, so we have to drop Peter with our, my brother or my sister, however they're related, Aunt May and Uncle Ben. And, we have to go on the run because we're secret super science. You know what comes of this subplot? Absolutely nothing. It has no bearing on the story whatsoever, even though the first 40-some minutes of the film are Peter tracking down what happened to his father, because no one cares about mom, I guess. And, his father used to work with not Norman Osborne, Kurt Connors, and he's like, he's got a secret compartment in his bag, and he was developing a spider serum or something, and he found things he shouldn't know, and suspicious. I'm like, well, this is new. Where are we going with this? Nowhere! Nowhere! Absolutely nowhere! It's completely dropped. It has no bearing on the plot whatsoever. So, I feel like maybe there's a better version of this movie somewhere. Maybe not. Don't know. But it definitely feels like there are pieces of this movie missing. If not, that's some really bad writing. Don't really care for the spider suit. It's not bad. Black lenses is an odd choice. I mean, it makes sense because he, cannibalized a pair of Oakleys or something for his suit. Okay, but it just looks wrong. I don't really like the division of the blue and the red, where the color... It's just not my favorite suit. It's fine, but I've seen the suit in the second movie. Nailed it. This one, not my favorite. The shoes look really weird. I get what they were going for, climbing shoes, but they just look kind of weird. Spider-Man / Peter Parker. I'm okay with doing something different with a character. I really am. I don't mind if you take a character and do something radically different with it, as long as it's interesting or fun or entertaining. And Peter Parker's just he's an asshole. I don't like Peter Parker. And it's okay to make Pete an asshole if, like, his arc is being not an asshole, but that's not his arc. He doesn't really improve. And it feels like the movie thinks he's cool instead of just a thoughtless, kind of mean asshole. I really genuinely do not see what Gwen sees in him, other than he's very handsome. Good-looking guy. and the, 17-year-olds. There's nothing in this movie that requires our main cast to be in high school. And since our actors are in their 20s, you can just put them in college. It's fine. Because when Emma Stone's was like, Daddy, I'm 17. I'm like, no, you're not. No. No one in that high school is 17. But, I mean, I understand it's really tough to get actual... 14-year-olds, generally not good actors. Also, very hard to, schedule big movies around because there are laws, don't you know? So I get why you always have people in their 20s playing, teenagers. And I'm willing to look beyond that if there's a reason for it to actually be teenagers. And in this particular story, there's no compelling reason for it to be in high school. In fact, it would work better if they were in college. Because Gwen Stacy is an intern at a very prestigious position in Oscorp and seems to have, she's giving tours. She has the codes to evacuate the building. Maybe that's something that just everyone has. I don't know. But that it just feels a little off. It's like, oh yes, I run Oscorp. It's like you're really? You're a high school student. Not a huge problem in and of itself. It's just like, you could make them college kids. I think that would just work better. Whatever. Oh, what I was saying about Peter Parker. Peter Parker generally is a dork. And he's known for quipping because he's overcompensating for his dorkiness. And he just annoys the hell out of everybody because he's trying to be cool and he's just totally not. It's part of the charm of Peter Parker. This Peter Parker, I feel like they're trying to do that, but he just comes off as mean. Spider-Man is just kind of a jerk. And again, if that was part of the growth of his arc, that would be fine, but he's no, just a jerk. One of the first things he says to Gwen Stacy when he sneaks into her Oscorp tour is she recognizes him, and he's not supposed to be there, but she doesn't. She does him a solid and doesn't immediately throw him out. He's like, yeah, he's one of the brightest in the high school science team thing. And yep, and Kirk Connors is like, oh, is he? And she goes, yep, he's second in the class. And he goes, second, huh? And she goes, yep. He goes, you really think so? I'm like, dude. I think they were going for playful banter, but it just comes off as mean. It's like, dude, she just, saved your ass, Take the barb, buddy. And it's probably true anyway. So, the very next thing she says, okay, what are you doing here? He's like, I just love science. He's there investigating his dad. She's like, okay, fine, but just stay with the group. And immediately he runs off. And, I get it. He's there but I mean, I don't understand what she sees in him. She invites him to dinner. And he just argues with her father. It's like, dude. No, dude. Dude. No. And there's this really great thing. Dennis Leary plays the father who's, Captain Stacy, captain of the police force. And Spider-Man, of course, is like, I'm Spider-Man. I'm trying to help and do the things that the cops can't. And Gwen Stacy, Captain Stacy is all like, Spider-Man is a vigilante and a menace, and he needs to be stopped. And he's arguing with him about this. And he's like, oh, but he got this carjacker off the street. And he goes, yeah, a carjacker that we didn't pick up because we were doing a 6-month-long sting following this guy to the ringleaders, and Spider-Man screwed that all up. Does Spider-Man go, oh, and do some introspection and think, oh, well, this is a little more complicated than I initially thought. I should perhaps be a bit more thoughtful about this. No, he just keeps arguing. But then he later has a moment of introspection where he's like, you know what? No, he doesn't do any of that either. He takes a. I assume it's only once, but he takes a picture of Gwen Stacy from afar without her permission. That's creepy. Don't do that. He keeps coming in her bedroom window, which is weird. Use the door. You have to build up to entering someone's window, you know? The first time someone invites you over, use the front door. You really creepy person, you. He doesn't go to her father's funeral. I'm sorry, spoilers for a movie that's 10 years old. I mean, he goes, but then he hides on top of a building for no discernible reason. I mean, Captain Stacy does say, stay away from my daughter, and I guess he's kind of trying to honor that, but that doesn't mean you can't go to his funeral, you jackass. He's mean and inconsiderate to his aunt and uncle. The only time he ever remembers anything is if it involves Gwen Stacy. I mean, okay, he's a kid, I get it, but... And again, it's fine if we're trying to do an arc of growth, but it's really not. He's just kind of a thoughtless, self-centered, aggressively mean asshole, and I don't like him. And that's not on Andrew Garfield, the actor. He's fine. His performance, nothing wrong with his performance. He and Emma Stone have good chemistry. These are two very good actors who I feel are not served by the material. Just because I don't buy their relationship, that's not a negative reflection on the actors themselves. They're doing fine. It's just the story. Also, the music is bad. I'm sorry, the music is not bad. The music's fine. Composer, you composed just fine music. Musicians, you played good music. It's fine. It's not the appropriate music for most of the scenes. Like, a lot of the scenes, I'm listening to the soundtrack, I'm thinking, did whoever composed this not know what they were composing for? Were they just saying, make music, and we're just going to haphazardly throw it in the movie somewhere? The fight between Spidey and a Lizard in the school. What were you thinking? I'm listening. It's kind of a cool fight scene, but I'm listening to the music. I'm like, this is not working at all. Again, the music itself, like the acting, it's not bad. It's just this music doesn't fit this scene at all. And there's a bunch of places in the movie where I felt that. So there's a post-credit scene where Kurt Connors is in prison, and he's in a big cell, and suddenly there's some silhouetted dude entirely in silhouette, don't know who it is. It's probably not Dad, because he just kind of warps, just steps out of the shadows, some behatted gentleman. It's like, did you tell Peter the truth about his father? And Kurt says, no, leave him alone. And then he just kind of disappears into the shadows again. Okay, that means nothing. That's not even intriguing. You see, something like that only works if we have even the slightest idea who this guy is, and or if what he says at least potentially recontextualizes what we know about Peter's father. You know, if he says and it's like, oh wow, this changes things. Nope, because we don't know anything about Peter's father because the movie got bored with that plotline and just ignored it. This movie is really bad. Yeah. Not to say that there was nothing I liked. There are a lot of really good moments in this film. The sequence where he's on the bridge and saving the kid from the car, I think that's genuinely well done. Um, I do find it. I did find it kind of funny that because there's like six, seven, eight cars that the lizard chucks off the bridge, and he just whip, and dangles them off the bridge. And it's like, oh, my son! I'm like, is that the only car that had people in it? Okay, so he goes down to save the kid. The car catches fire, and he saves the kid, and then he runs off. I'm like, I'm sure none of the other seven cars are going to catch fire. You know. There's a lot of weird continuity stuff, like, I mean, not necessarily continuity errors. I can't think of any specific errors, but there were a lot of times where, like, Spider-Man would just, the next scene he'd have his mask off, and he's holding it in his hand, so he obviously took it off. But, like, I think after the fight in the school, the lizard disappears into the sewer, and so he's just, the next scene, he's wandering around the school without his mask. I'm like, why is your mask off? Why? Why? I mean, he's got it in his hand. Clearly, he took it off. Is it hard to see through the lenses? I don't know why he took his mask off. There was no motivation to do it. There's plenty of motivation to not do that. There's a bunch of scenes in the movie where someone is doing something or holding something or carrying something where you're like, wait, what? Why? I like the reveal of, they have a guinea pig. It's not a guinea pig, it's a mouse being used as a guinea pig, but they have Freddy, the three-legged mouse, who they're experimenting on to see if they can regrow his limbs. And Peter Parker breaks into the office. I guess they just, Oscorp seems to have really shit security, honestly, because people just wander in all the time. It's really easy to just wander in. Nobody cares. It's kind of weird, but whatever. I like the reveal that Freddy the mouse has become a giant Hulk mouse and is eating the other mouse. That's goofy and silly, and I love that. I like that. What some other stuff? Let's do some good stuff here. Stuff I like. I liked Freddy the mouse. I thought the setup for Uncle Ben's death was pretty good. He's in a store. He's in a convenience store trying to buy a bottle of milk, and he's 2 cents short. So he does the leave a penny, take a penny. So he takes it 2 pennies. He's like, you can't take those unless you spend at least $10. Store policy. He's like, you're holding up the line. Get away. He's like, fine, and takes his $2.05 back. And as he walks out the store, he notices the guy behind him distracts the dude by dumping a stand of magazines or something over. And while the checkout guy ducks down to pick it up, he takes money out of the cash register, throws Peter the milk, and runs out the back. And of course, this is the guy who later as in like 30 seconds later, runs into Uncle Ben and shoots him. This is the thing where Peter doesn't stop the bad guy because it's not his problem. And I like the setup. I thought it was an interesting scene. I don't think it's not used particularly well in the context of the rest of the story, but I did like that sequence. It's like, it does a great job of putting you in Peter's shoes at that point, right? It's like, yeah, I think a lot of us might do the same damn things. Be like, this guy got robbed of a couple $100 out of the register, but he's a jerk. He deserved it. And I got my milk. Meh. What else did I like? It feels like I'm doing a bit where it's like, let's talk about the things I like. No, there were scattered moments and things that I like. I just can't think of any of them. I like Stan Lee's cameo. That was fun. I like the bit where a table comes rushing at Stan Lee's head from behind. He's got headphones on, so he can't hear anything. And it suddenly stops in the air and then pulls back as Spidey caught it with the web. That was a cool move. I like where he wraps up the lizard in webbing. He's, crawling all around him. I think that's a great visual. A lot of the fight choreography is actually really well done. I like that bit in the sewer where he thwip, thwip, thwippity, thwip makes a big web to... As, he's going to, like, listen to the web vibrations to try and track where the lizard is. Which is not exactly what happens or how that works, but I think the idea is really fun. I don't recall ever seeing that before, so that was really cool. So there were a lot of enjoyable individual moments in the film, but overall the film is bad. It's poorly thought out, poorly constructed, and the story is somewhat nonsensical, not particularly entertaining, and it feels like a lot of what they were setting out to do, they just changed their mind at some point, or, by committee, stuff got cut because the movie was 3 hours or something like that. Whatever the reason, the end product is a genuinely bad movie. So, bummer. I hope The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is better.